30 to 40. But I think the bigger thing is that women are maybe think they're in a relationships or are in a relationship and they're sharing higher quality guys. So, and there's this concept called hypergamy. Women are all chasing after the top tier of men. So a lot of women are happier sharing a top tier guy than settling for a guy that's actually on their level.
Okay, so this is fair use under the DCMA for entertainment and educational purposes. So I've got a clip here from a podcast, I think it's called Whatever. Just a group of young people sitting around discussing the current state of affairs and what they can do about it. And I want to just look at it from the point of view of their attitudes towards what the problem is and how or what causes the issues that they're talking about to a certain extent, and how if they actually want to do something about it, they need to educate themselves as to what the actual data on the issue is, because until they get that red pill, there's no hope.
So, go ahead. I was gonna say I agree with you. I think I made like a TikTok the other day that was like, get yourself an average man, ladies, or something like that, because like the majority of your audience, I would say, is average males, right? We're like,
there's some chads.
Well, yeah,
some chads,
but
for sure.
But it's very it's like what, less than 5% of men are making like $100,000 a year in America or something like that. Like,
right. So this is one of the issues. They say the average man, ladies, get yourself an average man. What they actually mean here is an average wallet, an average ATM. As soon as they define what they mean by average, it's talking about income. So that's the first thing, is to stop seeing men as ATMs. Start seeing men as actually human beings. And that's obviously going to be buying into that. Like, one of the root causes of the issues is that men are not seen as humans. They're just money machines. And it's blatant. It's just blatant sexism, like, straight up.
it's really low. So
most people are average.
Yeah, just average. Like, so I think we need to normalize the fact that, like, if you get in a relationship, he doesn't have to be making the same or more money than you, right? Because that's true equality and like equity, or whatever, however you want to phrase it. It's about what you give to the relationship. And so whether that means that you're a stay-at-home mom and he's out there working full-time, or vice versa, it's about like everybody doing their part, whether you're man or woman, whatever role you want to play. So.
Yeah, but here's the problem, is that you basically, what you have going on in the dating marketplace is average women don't want average guys.
I'm encouraging them to. That's what my podcast is about.
Call me crazy. Why wouldn't average women just decide to stop being average ourselves and raise the standards for what we expect from the men that we're dating?
So here's the delusion coming in. Why don't we just demand more from the men? You've got average guys there who, like, what can you do as an average guy? Right. And here the women are saying we're going to demand more from the average guy. He's got to earn more money, is what they mean. They're not saying, he's got to clean his act up, he's got to, become a better person. It's just he's got to earn more money, and we demand that. So that's, prostitution, really, isn't it? Like, at the end of the day, they're selling their vaginas because they've got nothing else to bring to the table. right? It's not like they're homemakers and going to make a good wife at all, right? They're going to be, if the relationship goes ahead and there is some kind of legal and formal document, that relationship is going to last until a more wealthier ATM comes along, because that's all they're interested in, right? This is what they're demanding, is that you make more money, and they know that they can divorce you and take all of your stuff and have you support their lifestyle while they find a bigger ATM. And that's what it's about. Right? That's what they're talking about. And, you know, men just walk away from it. You don't need it in your life. And they're despicable people.
Sorry, explain that one more time.
Rather than settling for an average guy, why wouldn't we just demand more from the men that we're dating?
Because it's very hard for
don't do
some
that.
people
It's
to
hard to
take.
control men.
No.
Why?
Well,
Men respond extremely well to boundaries. They do, psychologically. If you set a boundary for a man, either intentionally or unintentionally, he will honor that boundary. For example, if
Men are just like dogs. They're just dumb animals that if you set some boundaries and throw them a bone once in a while, they'll wag their tails. You know, it's contemptible.
you let him continue getting away with cheating on you and being half in, half out of a relationship, being a situationship for months upon months upon months without ever committing to you or wanting to put a label on things, that's a boundary that you've set, saying it's acceptable for me to be treated that way. Why wouldn't we as women, actual feminism, I suppose, to be theoretical about this, demand more from the men that we're spending our lives with?
I agree, and I think, like, here's where the problem lies, right? Men end up leaving because if that girl that's demanding respect and demanding boundaries, now she becomes high maintenance to them. This is, again, I'm speaking anecdotally, but I've heard this from men before. Now she's becomes high maintenance, so they're leaving and they're going to find somebody that just says yes all the time.
So what if we all did it? I hear all the
I agree.
time, all men want are sex. All men want is sex.
So this is one of the root causes of the issue, you see. These women have got no idea what men want. And they're not interested in finding out. They're not interested in listening to what men say. Right? She's just heard that all men want is sex. All men want is sex. That's real. What she's talking about there is all that Western women are good for is sex. Right? That's what men are doing. Right? So men are just having sex with them. That's the hookup culture. That's what's happening. They're just getting chewed up, ran through them and spat out at the other end. It's not, all men want is sex. No, all men want you for is sex, because that's all you're good for. You're not wife material. These women are just broken. They do not know A, how to be wise, and B, what men want for a wife and a woman. And they can sit here and belittle men, treat us like ATMs and dumb animals, and it's getting them nowhere, because they're not interested in solving any problems. What they're interested in doing is coercing men to jump through the next hoop. And men are waking up and we're walking away, and good on us. That's what needs to happen, because there's millions of women in the East, make no mistake, millions of them, who make excellent wives, and these ignorant harpies can just be, you run through, I mean, that's all they're good for.
All men want is sexual partners. What if we as women just said, we're not okay with that anymore?
Holla, sister.
We want more.
I completely
Wouldn't that
agree.
force men to rise to that occasion? And similarly, men who might be listening to this, you should be going after women who expect those boundaries, because a rising tide lifts all ships, and that's going to improve.
Well, the genie's out of the bottle. I mean, I think we can say in an ideal world, wouldn't it be fantastic if we did away with hookup culture? And I think that is desirable, but I don't think, I think the culture war has honestly been lost to decadence and degeneracy. So
there's no hope.
It's not so much that the genie's out of the bottle and that women need to set some boundaries and make men jump through hoops and whatnot. The problem lies with the town bike, right? There are if women decide that they're going to keep their legs together until there's a ring on their finger, that will never work, because there is always women who will spread their legs for as many men as they can get. This is what they do. This is female nature. And it only takes the right man to come along, and the most prim and proper woman will spread her legs without a ring. And that is female nature. So this idea that you're going to be all ganging together and changing society by keeping your legs together, it's delusional.
I mean,
lost.
I think the culture war has been lost, because you have academia, you have journalism, you have the mainstream media, which is all basically very, and without really going so much into politics, it's very left-leaning. Mm-hmm. Every single university in the country has a feminist studies, a gender studies, a women's studies program. I mean, now this is getting into men's rights. There's no equivalent men's studies or men's rights things in education. We're 2 blocks away from UCSB, University of California, Santa Barbara. It's frequently ranked the #1 party school in the U.S., major hookup culture here. And I would say across most universities and colleges, there is a major hookup culture. And then beyond college, there's a major hookup culture where it's just casual sex, situationships, all this stuff. I really think it's going to be a challenge to walk that back. I don't see
how about instead of walking it back, we as a generation and as a society acknowledge we are at the end of our rope, that we've never struggled more as a society from a cultural perspective than we are right now. Despite living in arguably the most progressive and advanced society ever, we're miserable. So much so that a third of us as women in our teenage years, and a significantly higher portion of men in their young adult years, say we don't even want to be here at all. So maybe rather than walking back, we choose a new path forward. Well,
but so, and you consider yourself pretty conservative, right?
Yeah.
So,
secret's out. I'm extremely conservative.
Yeah.
Shocker.
One thing that occurred to me is, social media and dating apps. Mm-hmm. I think that these are majorly at the forefront of hookup culture, all this stuff. So government intervention, how do you unwind the damage that social media and dating apps has done?
Well, that's the problem. You can't unwind, in my opinion. And this is the really hard reality of where we go from here. I work a lot with generations older than us, and I cannot tell you how often every day I hear Gen Z is beyond all hope. Gen Z is destroying America. Your generation will be the end of us. When in reality, somebody else built this world that we have grown up in and have really struggled to come into adulthood in, and now has been dropped in our laps, and we have no idea what to do with it moving forward. Technology is a quintessential experience of what our day-to-day life is like, what reality is like. It involves our school, our jobs, our dating relationships, our sex is happening online. Let's just be totally honest. We've had a really long conversation about that on this podcast. I don't know that you can walk it back. I think we as a society would have to come to a cultural conversation point and change minds and culture from the inside out rather than regulatory measures to do that.
Well, all right, but you've got your technology there. You've got all your social media apps. You've got the ability to talk to everyone at once in the world, and yet somehow there's a major problem. I think one of the biggest problems is there's a lot of talk goes on and not a lot of action. Right? I don't think that this Gen Z understands leadership. If this is what you want, then there's plenty of opportunity to do it. You just don't do it. And I don't think it's really because the talk is cheap. action takes a bit more effort, and at the end of the day, you're quite happy with the hookup culture. It's just that it's not getting the final result that you want. You're quite happy sleeping around, all right? It's like the women are quite happy with these multiple digit body counts, you know, and it's just that when you end up at 30 or 35 and you see that you've wasted the best years of your life, that the regret sets in. So, no, men have had enough, you know, we're out of there.
By saying, this is not working, we need to do more. I sound crazy that I'm like one of the only people in my own life that has never downloaded a dating app, nor have I ever wanted to. I've never had a desire to. I don't seek out opportunities to watch adult content. I don't surround myself with opportunities to do that because I've set a different standard for my life and encourage the other people in my life to do that as well. Imagine if we all banded together, regardless of politics, where everybody is seeking to divide us on this issue, and start today by saying, this is not working. Generation Z is falling apart at the seams, and clearly our dating life is a great place to start that needs more help than almost any other aspect of our culture. What can we do differently, returning to traditional values, but in a new way that would take us to a stronger future?
I don't think it can be undone, honestly. I think it's just going to be the status quo. I mean, you have the basically the destruction of the nuclear family. That's gone. You have feminism.
It's not gone yet.
Well,
people are attempting to.
It's not gone, but I mean, isn't it the majority of people are being raised in single mother households?
People say it's acceptable. The majority of Americans say it's acceptable for people.
Well, that and the study of single mother households, I mean, you're like 75% or something like that more likely to drop out of high school, like, you know, more percentage like to go or get arrested, like all that kind of stuff. Like single mother households are like not good for kids. They're just not. I understand there's circumstances where some men leave and there's nothing you can do about it, but that's the thing. Like, that's why I'm divided on that issue, because if we make this general statement like, you know, keep the nuclear family together, but if he leaves, how is it her fault?
So there you are. This is one of the root causes of the issue, one of the major root causes. And what you've got here, you know, they've just pointed out that the majority of households in the US now are single mother households. So these are women who are failing to bring up the next generation, right? And it's been going on for a long time now. They're failing to teach their daughters how to be wives and their sons how to be fathers. And this is my contention, is that women can't teach their sons how to be fathers because the women have got no idea what a father is, mainly because they've been brought up without fathers as well. So the woman here in the pink, she then says, oh yeah, but the men are going to leave. Well, we know that 80% of the divorces are initiated by women. Right? That's the data is in on that one. 90% if she's college educated. So again, the issue is blame the men. Right? This is women are brought up with the idea that they can do no wrong, and if they do wrong, then it's men's fault, and that is really the root cause. Until women understand that they're not just sweet fluffy things that have no agency in the world, except when they want it, of course, that what they are doing to the world around them is failing, and they are responsible for the downfall of modern society, not men. Right? Men have not had a sexual revolution. Right? There's the idea that what they're talking about here, this culture war and all the rest of it, is the sexual revolution from the feminists, and it's not men's revolution; it's women's revolution. Right? Men. I've got to talk about this in a separate video, I think.
You know? And then you could say, like, well, she picked a bad guy, but...
Right, well, there are ideal and unideal circumstances,
right.
for sure. But I guess just more generally, not pigeonholing ourselves in the single-parent household conversation, I'm curious what all of you would say. Do you think that our generation is happy? Do you think that we're thriving? Do you think that this progressive society that we've spent so many decades trying to build a utopia to live in is working?
I don't think any
No.
like previous generations were either happy. I wouldn't say happy either. Like obviously.
Well, I'll just leave it there, I think. But I will just add, happiness is a selfish thing. It's about one's own happiness. And what about a duty to a wider society to bring up children to understand truth and loyalty and all the old-fashioned values, you know, to do with duty, service, that kind of thing, rather than happiness. Just a thought.